What if one choke point broke and 30 days without chips shook the world? Not with explosions, not with tanks, but with a silent shortage that starts inside factories and ends in your car, your phone, and the prices you pay. The scary part is that the world would not fail all at once. It would fail in layers, and most people would only notice when the damage was already spreading. Modern civilization does not run on oil alone. It runs on chips, and chips are everywhere you do not look, in brakes, screens, routers, servers, washing machines, medical devices, satellites, and defense systems. That is why a 30-day interruption is not just a tech problem. It is a test of how fragile the entire economic machine really is. And stay with this one, because the most important part is not the shortage itself. It is how fast a shortage like this turns into a political weapon. The first 72 hours would look strangely calm from the outside. Stores would not instantly go empty, and most consumers would not feel a shock on day one. But inside the supply chain, panic would spread immediately. Procurement teams would start checking inventory counts line by line. Manufacturers would freeze low-priority orders. Logistics firms would start calling around for alternative shipments that barely exist. The first product category to break psychologically is cars. A modern vehicle is not just metal and engine anymore. It is a rolling computer with dozens, sometimes hundreds, of chips controlling everything from safety systems to infotainment to power management. If chip flows slow down, automakers do not simply keep building at full speed. They pause lines, change schedules, and protect their highest value models first. That means fewer cars, longer waits, and more expensive options. If you are already seeing how one missing component can ripple into daily life, hit like and keep watching. The next layer is where this stops being a product story and becomes an inflation story. Now the deeper damage begins. When factories cannot get the chips they need, they do not just slow down one line. They start reducing shifts, postponing deliveries, and trimming output across multiple departments. That means workers get fewer hours, suppliers get fewer orders, and transport companies move less cargo. The cost pressure spreads even if demand has not suddenly exploded. This is also where the public starts to misunderstand what is happening. A chip shortage does not always look like a shortage in the traditional sense. Sometimes it looks like slower deliveries, lower model variety, or a product launch that quietly gets pushed back 3 months. Sometimes it looks like a company claiming supply chain adjustments while internally it is fighting to keep production alive. And because chips are so central, the pressure lands everywhere at once. This is exactly why the topic matters beyond headlines. If you want more scenario breakdowns like this, subscribe and stay close, because the next part is where the winners and losers start to separate. Once scarcity sets in, power changes hands. Countries and companies with advanced fabrication capacity suddenly matter more than everyone else. So do those with packaging capacity, specialized materials, and the ability to restart production quickly. The exact leverage depends on where the bottleneck sits, but the logic is the same. When a critical input becomes scarce, whoever controls the bottleneck controls the pace of recovery. And this is the part that changes strategy for years, not weeks. A 30-day stop would force every serious company to ask whether its supply chain is too concentrated. Can it dual-source critical components? Should it hold more inventory? Should it redesign products around more available chips? Those questions sound technical, but they are really about survival. And if you are noticing how this one scenario connects economics, technology, and power, that is the point of this channel. These are the kinds of changes that look small right up until they reshape everything. The deeper lesson is simple but brutal. The world is built on a few concentrated nodes that most people never think about. A handful of factories, a few shipping lanes, a small number of advanced suppliers, a narrow chain of materials and expertise. That concentration creates efficiency, but it also creates vulnerability. For years, the system worked because it was fast, global, and optimized. But optimization has a price. Now imagine the public reaction once the pattern becomes impossible to ignore. People would not necessarily see panic buying in the same way they do during a fuel crisis, but they would feel the slowdown everywhere. New car deliveries take longer. Certain electronics become harder to find. Prices climb in categories that seemed unrelated to chips a month earlier. Businesses start blaming supply chains. Politicians start talking about sovereignty. If this breakdown is making you rethink how fragile the modern economy really is, comment with the one sector you think would feel the pain first. And if you want the next scenario, this is the right place to be. So if one major semiconductor shipment stopped for 30 days, the world would not end. But it would expose how dependent modern life is on a tiny set of invisible components. The first damage would be quiet. The second would be expensive. The third would be political. And by the time leaders reacted, the real lesson would already be clear. In the global economy, power often belongs to whoever controls the bottleneck nobody was paying attention to. If you want more videos like this, subscribe to the channel, follow it, like this video, and leave a comment with the next what if scenario you want me to break down. Your ideas help shape the next episode, and they tell me which choke points matter most to you. Because the next crisis does not have to be loud to be historic, sometimes it only has to be concentrated.